Greetings, BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. My name is Peg. Happy Saturday. I'm enjoying a beautiful sunny day here in Colorado. We might be getting some thunderstorms later, so I'm enjoying the sun while I can. I'm enjoying a fun, breezy Saturday of not being crunched with deadlines. So, wow. This is how the other half lives, huh? Got to poke around in my books, as pulling out books to donate, to give away, all the fun little bookish things that I haven't had time for the last several months, but now I'm making time for, and I'm making time for making videos on the weekend. And we've got another installment of new military history titles. You know, this channel loves and supports our men and women in the armed forces. I am a veteran, and I love military history. What can I say? And I get to look at a lot of the new stuff that comes across my desk here from the good folks at Casemate. And we've got a ton of new things that I want to show you. So without further ado, for all of you military history fans out there, let's dive right in. In one of my other Casemate videos that I've done, I showed one of these books, and then I realized it was part of a trilogy. And you know me, I've got to find the whole set so that I can read it. And I finally got the other two volumes in this series, and so I wanted to just go ahead and show you the one I've had before, which was the first. So this is by Rex Bashford, and this is Hitler's Imperfect Victories, Campaigns in Western Europe, 1939 to 1941. You can see it better there. It's the first of three books looking at how Hitler was able to install himself as leader of the army, Luftwaffe, and Kriegsmarine, and how well he performed these roles. And this is based entirely on evidence of the most senior military personnel, including diaries and recollections of three chiefs of the Army General Staff, Field Marshals Rommel, von Rundstedt, von Bock, von Kleist, von Manstein, numerous other senior generals, Hitler's military adjutants, ministers of his government, and evidence from the trial of the major war criminals at Nuremberg. So, it is comprehensive. So this was Rex Bashford's first book in this series, which I had shown you in my previous Casemate video. So now I've got the second in the three-part in-depth study. And this one is Hitler's Shattered Dreams of Empire. Crucial Battles of the Eastern and Western Front, 1941 to 1944. And I should say these are pen and sword imprints that Casemate distributes. So with book number 2 here, this is going to be a great just a great standalone set of books here that I can really kind of just feast on. There have been many books on Adolf Hitler and specific military campaigns and battles during the time of the Third Reich. However, there's never been a comprehensive analysis of Hitler's role as the supreme military leader of the Third Reich across all the major campaigns. So I have kind of discussed that before with this book, the approach of these three books here. But this book analyzes each of the Third Reich's military campaigns and the programs for the development of new weapons, including the V1, V2, and the A-bomb, paying special attention to Hitler's role in them. And this one also, let's see here. That deals with Hitler's influence on the crucial battles on the Eastern Front resulting from the Nazi invasion of the USSR in 1941, Operation Barbarossa, together with the Allied invasions of Festung Europa and the Ardennes offensive in 1944 to 45. So this is the second, and this looks good. Lots of maps, lots of footnotes, photos, all that good stuff. There's that iconic photograph of the Russians hanging up the communist flag in the ruins of Berlin, I believe. Then the final book in the series I just got. I'm so excited. So now I got all three of Rex Bashford's It is Hitler's command, Luftwaffe, Kriegsmarine, V-weapons, jets, and the A-bomb, which kind of is what was said on the other jacket. Says third book in a three-part, looking at Hitler's influence on the Wehrmacht and his influence on the Luftwaffe and the Kriegsmarine. Let's see here. Hitler arrogated to himself the power to make all critical decisions relating to the strategic and operational deployment of the entire Wehrmacht. And this volume analyzes the effect of his decisions on the Luftwaffe and Kriegsmarine. How did his decisions affect the development of German jet aircraft and the types of U-boats used? How did he decide what priority to assign to key weapons in the overall German war effort? What determined how programs such as the V-1, V-2, and the potential German atomic bomb were integrated into the German war effort? All these matters were critical to the actual operational power of the Wehrmacht as opposed to its theoretical potential. Similarly, what was the effect of the Allied strategic bombing campaign on Germany's war potential, and how effective were the steps Hitler ordered against it? Finally, what did the leading military figures of the Third Reich, such as those field marshals I've mentioned, think of Hitler's command? So this is going to be good. So this is the final volume in Rex Bashford's comprehensive analysis of Hitler as a military commander, as the commander-in-chief, as it were. So, Pen and Sword. These are all by Rex Bashford. If you're into kind of having a comprehensive overview of just Hitler's military acumen, his knowledge of, he was a courier in World War I. That doesn't make him didn't make him an expert on military strategy or tactics, that's for certain. So I think these three books are going to do a lot to kind of lay out the case. So I'm very excited for those three. Thank you, Casemate. This is a brand new book out that when I saw it, I was like, this sounds really good. And it's also picking up where we left off with the Hitler thing here, and what did his commanders think of his ability to lead and to understand military tactics and strategy, logistics, and all that kind of stuff. This is a broader view, but this is called Betting Against America, the Axis Powers' Views of the United States. And this is by Harry Yide. By pronouncing that right. It's a nice big book. Betting Against America, the Axis Powers' Views of the United States. It's a new assessment of the reasoning that underpinned the decision of the Axis countries to go to war against the United States of America, which is something about World War II I've always wondered about. Yes, the Japanese attacked America. We understand that. Why did Hitler, to me it seemed like it was a death sentence for him. Why did he declare war on America? Because it's just like, you're not going to beat us. You just weren't. Even us fighting a two-front war and fighting the Japanese in the Pacific, which was brutal. I never understood what brought him to think, yeah, let's take them on too. So I think this book is really going to help me grapple with that. But let me read from the pub sheet here. Why did Axis countries go to war against America? Given America's industrial base, what was the rationale that underpinned their decision? This new analysis by a seasoned intelligence officer based mainly on German, Italian, and Japanese sources offers a red team exercise, taking the viewpoint of the leaders of the Axis powers, looking at the buildup to their war against America and the course of the war itself. It identifies the moments when their leaders realized America and its American-supplied allies were going to beat them. It covers Japanese thinking about America and its other strategic rivals from the time of the Russo-Japanese War, because the Imperial Japanese Navy picked the U.S. Navy as its notional enemy in 1907. It devotes serious attention to Japan's war in China, because its inability to beat the nationalists was the reason the Japanese made decisions that led to war against the U.S. Ironically, fear of bombing from bases in China completely hijacked strategic decision-making on China and drove all Japanese offensive late in the war. Okay, so here's where we get to the Hitler stuff here. What was his thinking here? Make sure I know it's a little bit of a glare. Sorry about that. The coverage of Germany starts with Hitler's early views of America in the 1920s. Hitler put so little thought into declaring war, no kidding, that the High Command had not been treating America as an enemy and had little intelligence on which to assess its war policy. The main news sources are OSS reports and memos from MI6 Chief C to the Foreign Office. Magic also contains intercepted cable from the Japanese missions in Europe, including meetings with Hitler. The coverage of Italy is largely derivative of its relationship with Germany, as was the reality. Italian Foreign Minister Count Galeazzo Ciano de Cortellazzo foresaw a massive conflict that would ruin Italy, but Mussolini in the end called the shots. Fortunately, the Germans had Ciano's diary translated into German, which survived destruction thanks to a secretary who buried it rather than burn it as ordered, so preserving a great source inside the Italian leadership and inter-Axis relations. So this is going to be pretty good. This is brand new release from, this is a Casemate release here. Yep, came out this year, I think just last month. And they call it a red team exercise, which obviously from what I've just described to you in the pub sheet means that you take the opposite view. You're kind of, you put yourself in the shoes of the enemy. What would they do? Looking at some of the chapter titles. Oh, this is so meaty and so good. Ooh, you guys. I'm gonna tap into this a bit. And I've been on a World War II kick for the last couple of years. Apparently, I've been reading a lot more on that war and getting a lot more knowledge about some of these different angles, geopolitical and whatnot. But like they have a chapter, 1937, the first pre-World War year. And there's a nice little subheading there. What might they have thought about America? War goes global. Japan opts for war. We've got photos throughout. It's a big read. This book is lots of endnotes. We've got tables, timelines, very well researched. It appears it's about 387 pages without all of the endnotes and everything else. But great new release from Casemate, Betting Against America by Harry Yide. Check it out. All right. I've got a lot. Let's go over here. There's so much. We'll stick with this since we mentioned Mussolini. Let me just take a sip of my tea. Since we mentioned Mussolini, this is interesting, and this is a pen and sword book. This is Mussolini, Mustard Gas and the Fascist Way of War, Ethiopia, 1935 to 1936, by Charles Stevenson. Let's see here. It's about, without endnotes, about like 170, 80 pages. Let's see what we've got here. I don't have a pub sheet, so I'm just going to read real quick from the book. In early October 1935, and without any declaration of war, some 200,000 men, comprising soldiers and airmen of the Italian armed forces, fascist black shirt militia, Eritrean Askari, and Somali Dubats, invaded the independent state of Ethiopia, also known as Abyssinia. It was an operation entirely of choice, the chooser being Il Duce, Benito Mussolini. The resultant conflict is often described as a colonial war. Whilst it was certainly launched with the intent of turning Ethiopia into an Italian possession, it was in fact a war of aggression against an independent, sovereign state with membership of the League of Nations. A state that had, according to one of its 19th century rulers, been, quote, for 14 centuries a Christian island in a sea of pagans, end quote. The swiftness of the Italian victory resulted from their possession and ruthless use of technology, most particularly aircraft, mustard gas, and motorization mechanization. Since they were fighting an enemy who possessed none of these things, what heroes? Then they were able to wage, indeed, inaugurate what the prominent military theorist, JFC Fuller, woo, He's got some great Civil War studies. Dubbed totalitarian warfare. This, he opined, was the fascist, the scientific way of making war. In his considered view, the fascist army that waged it was a scientific military instrument. This book examines that campaign in military and political terms. So that sounds fascinating. And I really like this cover. This is quite different from what I usually see on casemate books or pen and sword books. So Mussolini, mustard gas and the fascist way of war, Ethiopia, 1935 to 1936. Charles Stevenson. This is out right now. Okay. What else we got here? Okay, we're going to go into a stack here of new releases. Well, they're all new releases. But see, I love having this desk. This bigger desk is very helpful. It's very helpful indeed. So here's a new book. I'm not sure. This is more for the reference-oriented person, maybe like a researcher, someone who's a historian who's going to be writing a book on World War II or German military high command. I just saw that they released volume 2 of this. But for those of you who are into just, it's not a narrative, it is strictly a reference book. But it's pretty comprehensive. This is Generals and Admirals of the Third Reich for Country or Führer, Volume 1, A to G by James Jack Webb. So it's going to be 3 volumes. So this 3-volume set offers concise biographical information for over 5,000 generals and admirals of the Third Reich, covering all branches of service. Scholarly overview of each individual, personal details, and the dates to the attachments to their unit, their medals awarded. It is a readily accessible go-to reference work for all World War II researchers and historians. So it has extensive appendices. The author was born and raised in Denver, Colorado. Hi! Right down the road from you. Anyway, so yeah, there's the back there. It's basically like what I said. There's some photographs for, some of the people on each page, but it's going to look like that. Okay. So, definitely a reference work. Interesting. I don't have a need for it, but if any of you out there do, let me know. You just never know. But anyway, for you researchers out there, this could be a helpful resource for you if you're doing any type of in-depth writing or research on the German military in World War II. What else do we have here? So I'm going to put that over here for now. Another new book we've got out is called The First Hellcat Ace. We're going to switch over to aviation on this one. Commander Hamilton McWhorter III with Lieutenant Colonel J.A. Stout. They're both retired. The First Hellcat Ace. And this is a casemate title. Although he objected to being characterized as such, Hamilton McWhorter III's service to family and country make him a standout among America's greatest generation. A Georgia native whose family roots date from that region's settlement during the 1700s, Mac McWhorter was a naval aviation cadet undergoing training when Pearl Harbor was attacked. After earning his wings of gold in early 1942, Ensign McWhorter was trained as a fighter pilot in the robust but technologically outmoded F-4F Wildcat. Initially assigned to VF-9, a fiercely spirited and hard-playing fighter squadron, he saw first combat in November 1942 against Vichy French forces in North Africa. Let's see here. It says, from mid-1943, Hamilton McWhorter was constantly engaged in the unforgiving and deadly aerial warfare that characterized the battles against Imperial Japan. His 5th aerial victory in November 1943 off Tarawa Atoll made him the first ace in the Hellcat, and 7 subsequent victories ensured his place in the annals of air-to-air combat. and Mr. McWhorter passed away in 2008. Fascinating. So, again, just more great stuff coming from Casemate. How cool! I just love. They're just so rich with the photographs, the things that you normally would see elsewhere. Oh, look at these guys! They're having fun. They're all dressed up. The women are they're dressed in drag. What is going on? The dog seems confused. Is what the bottom of that picture says. Oh, sorry, that's funny. So they knew how to have fun too. So the first Hellcat Ace, that looks really good. Next we have Witness to Neptune's Inferno, the Pacific War Diary of Lieutenant Commander Lloyd M. Mustin, USS Atlanta. And it's by David F. Winkler. Witness to Neptune's Inferno. Let me give you a little lowdown on that. Ooh. So what makes this book kind of different, let me just do that on this side, try to avoid that glare, is that diaries were not supposed to be kept during U.S. Navy personnel, to be kept by U.S. Navy personnel during the war. So this day-to-day account of the Pacific War is very rare and refreshingly candid. Obviously, they didn't keep them for very good reason. If recovered by the Japanese, these type of diaries would likely have revealed that the Japanese code had been broken prior to the Battle of Midway. Mustin's diary is a rare day-to-day accounting of the Pacific from a very opinionated mid-grade officer. Beginning with the commissioning of Atlanta, the USS Atlanta, at the Brooklyn Navy Yard on Christmas Eve 1941, Mustin covers the ship's workups and her deployment to the Pacific in time for the Battle of Midway. This is a valuable document, fully interpreted to provide a better understanding of the Pacific War during that critical year. So, yeah, indeed, you are not supposed to be keeping a diary. But, yeah, I love that first-person stuff. You can't beat it. He was there. David F. Winkler's Witness to Neptune's Inferno. And then this is something a little different here. Now, I've recognized this author. He's written some books on the Japanese in World War II, the campaigns in the Far East. It's Peter Harmson. And now he has a new book now with Casemate called Bernhard Sindberg, The Schindler of Nanjing. Nice little book there. There's the back. The story of Bernhard Sindberg, a young adventurer who saved thousands of lives during Japan's bloody rampage of Nanjing, the Chinese capital, in late 1937 and 38. It's going to be a hard one to read, I think. So it's a biography of Sindberg, who's, let's see, in December 1937, I'll just read from the beginning, the Chinese capital, Nanjing, falls, and the Japanese army unleash an orgy of torture, murder, and rape. Over the course of 6 weeks, hundreds of thousands of civilians and prisoners of war are killed. At the very onset of the atrocities, the Danish supervisor at a cement plant just outside the city, 26-year-old Bernhard Sindberg, opens the factory gates and welcomes in 10,000 Chinese civilians to safety, beyond the reach of the bloodthirsty Japanese. He becomes an Asian equivalent of Oskar Schindler, the savior of Jews in the European Holocaust. Oh. It kind of covers his life from his childhood in the old Viking city of Aarhus and on his first adventures as a sailor and a foreign legionnaire, to the dramatic 104 days as a rescuer of thousands of helpless men, women, and children in the darkest hour of the Sino-Japanese War. Wow, this looks really uplifting. in the midst of all the dark, material. But what emerges from this tale or what emerges from, I should say, the book sets the record straight. Let me start this. The book sets the record straight by providing the first complete account of Sinberg's life in English, based on archival sources hitherto unutilized by any historian, as well as interviews with surviving relatives. It is a surprising tale of a person who was average in every respect, but rose to the occasion when faced with unimaginable brutality, discovering an inner strength and courage that transformed him into one of the great humanitarian figures of the 20th century, and an inspiration for our modern age, indeed. So this just published last month. March. It was in March. Bernhard Sinberg, the Schindler of Nanjing. So that looks like a really interesting story. I had never heard of that before. Lots of photos. Good stuff. Always good stuff from Casemate. Okay, getting a little fuzzies here. Where are we at? 26 minutes, guys, and I still got so much more. All right. What are we going to do here? All right. God, we're going to go back to these guys again, but I'm hearing dogs huffing at the door because I have the door closed. For the purposes of this video, here comes...
There you go.
Oh, hi, guys.
Your staff is waiting.
My staff is now on camera. Guys, sit down. I'm making a video. Sit. Go sit down. Thank you, Roxy. We have The German Way of War on the Eastern Front, 1941 to 43, a lesson in tactical management by Jap Jan Brouwer. It's a pen and sword imprint. And I'm interested in this because I'm just really wanting to study the Eastern Front a lot more. Just the level of fighting, the brutality of it, what the Germans faced over there with the Russians, the Soviets, I should say. I kind of have just been expanding my library on like Operation Barbarossa and then just anything about the Eastern Front. I find very interesting. So with this book, it's not very big, but it kind of gives you an overview about, the tactics and organizational dimensions of the armies involved, structure, weapons, leadership style, and command. It says it'll help you to understand why the German army had such a high battlefield performance and the Soviets were such thorough fighters. Read about the vastness of the Soviet Union and the logistical challenges this posed, and the important role of the Reichsbahn and the Luftwaffe of supplying the troops in all circumstances. So it's just a book I wanted to check out on the German Way of War on the Eastern Front. So that'll do the trick. Oh, did I show this one already? I can't remember. All right, we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to switch to the Spanish Civil War, you guys, which has been another niche interest of mine for the last couple of years. This has not come out yet. Oh, this is, brand spanking new. This comes out on May 31st, but I've got a finished copy, so I'm very tickled. This is Francos Pirates. Naval Aspects of the Spanish Civil War, 1936 to 1939, by E.R. Houghton. Let's see here. It says here, the Spanish Civil War was won and lost upon the high seas. It was won because the Nationalists had an uninterrupted flow of men and materials, while Republican sea lanes were attacked by fascist warships, submarines, and aircraft. The pirates of the title These attacks also involved dozens of foreign merchantmen and warships, including American, as well as hundreds of men, women, and boys. The worst affected was the British merchant marine, which dominated Spanish trade. Some owners used rust buckets to maximize profits in a trade, which resulted in the loss of 66 British lives. This is a story of exploitation, heroism, chauvinism, piracy, international inaction, and espionage, which has never been told. It includes details of such things as the first aerial campaign against shipping and the first operational use of sonar against a submarine. So, Francos Pirates, guys, this is coming out May 31st from Casemate. This is, again, by E.R. Houghton. Fantastic. All right, now we're going to really change it up. We're going to go old school. We're going to go back in time. This book came out at the very end of March, and this is also from Casemate. And this is Vandal Heaven, Reinterpreting Post-Roman North Africa by Simon Elliott. Let me get my glasses on. All right, so this overturns inherited assumptions about the Vandals and the decline of the Roman Empire in North Africa. Yeah. It says here, new research published here for the first time shows that post-Roman North Africa thrived under the Vandals. To them, it was Vandal Heaven. A place where they found a way as the new incumbent elite to live comfortably alongside the late Roman inhabitants. Despite their different interpretations of Christianity, together the two cultures flourished. When the Eastern Romans, now styled Byzantines, returned, they weren't welcome. This is evidenced in the surviving built environments of this new period of North African history, namely chains of small forts along the frontier and interior, where the Byzantines used mounted troops to keep an unhappy local populace in check. Interesting. It says here, some of the key features of this book, you guys, argues that the Vandals were not destructive and counter to popular theories that late Roman and Vandal populations flourished together in North Africa, and it was the Byzantines who were not welcome. Contends that the Arab conquest was so successful in Roman North Africa because the Byzantine overlords were so unpopular. And is written by an experienced author who spent significant time traveling through Roman North Africa, and particularly Algeria, in researching this book. Fascinating. All right, we're going to have like a little reinterpretation of the Vandals in this slim volume. Beautiful. It must be the author's photographs when he was touring there. Yeah, it says author's collection, touring the ruins. Ooh, God, these are beautiful. All right. Well, we'll see how he does with that interpretation of post-Roman North Africa. This is out now. All right. 33 minutes. Where are we at? Oh yeah. So I should have shown this on the heels of that book I just showed on the German way of war on the Eastern Front. Well, here is first-hand account of that. And I love first-hand accounts. And I like knowing what was going on for the soldiers involved. And this is a German soldier on the Eastern Front. What? What are you doing? Oh, now she's stealing the show. She wants Roxy to play with her, and she's rolling around. No one's paying attention to her. Oh, Daisy. A German soldier on the Eastern Front. A first-hand account of the beginnings of Operation Barbarossa by Franz Taut. Translated by Lyndon Lyons. Roxy, play with her. Get Daisy. Oh, Boomer's playing with her. You guys better not get up to anything. We got some great photos on the back. The dogs are stealing the show. Following the German attack on the Soviet Union in 1941, the German-Soviet non-aggression pact was officially broken after initial success, okay. After initial successes, it quickly became clear that the enemy could not be defeated that easily. As she's making noises, I don't think you can hear them. The microphone's not picking it up, but she's just making noises. Uh, it quickly became clear that the enemy could not be defeated that easily, as the unknown terrain and extreme weather conditions continued to exacerbate the problems. Lieutenant Hoberg, who had previously fought in the French campaign, had been sent to the east after receiving his promotion. Having led his battery several times, he was now waiting in vain for tank support. However, the lack of supplies, fire raids, and air raids made any further advance impossible, and with the Russian winter approaching, he knew that they would have to reach the Donets as soon as possible. Ooh, so I love it. This is just straight up first-hand account, and looks like it kind of reads almost like a novel. So I'm looking forward to reading this. A German soldier on the Eastern Front, the beginnings of Operation Barbarossa. Franz Taut. I think this is out now. I don't have my pub sheet, but I'm pretty sure that is out right now. I'm going to show this one real quick. I have a few of these from Pen and Sword. They have a series called Images of War. There's these slim little volumes, and they're just mostly photographs with just a little bit of text. Again, it's not that I like seeing old photos. What can I say? It's not that I'm not a fan of these people. They're evil, but I wanted to take a look at just the quality of the prints and stuff. We have Images of War, Hermann Göring, The Rise and Fall. Rare photographs from Wartime Archives by Ian Baxter. This is a brand new release. And it's all about him, a former Great War fighter pilot. Hermann Göring became, at his height, the second most powerful Nazi. Ambitious and ruthless, in addition to being a primary architect of the Third Reich state police and Gestapo, his numerous appointments included commander-in-chief of the Luftwaffe, director of the four-year plan, and playing a leading role in the final solution to the Jewish question. By the outbreak of the war in 1939, he was acknowledged as Hitler's successor, and in 1940 was given the special rank of Marshal of the Empire, and senior to all field marshals through the German armed services. Due to being held responsible for a number of military disasters, Göring's preeminent position declined as the war dragged on, to the point where he was expelled from the party for illegally attempting to seize control of the state. Captured by the Allies, he was found guilty at Nuremberg of being a leading war aggressor and advocate of the persecution of Jews and other races. He cheated the hangman by committing suicide. The career of this leading Nazi is described here in words and copious images. Has pictures of him in prison in Nuremberg, in his cell there, but I mean, just tons of, it's the Images of War. So these books, heavy photograph, use, a little bit of text intros. So, but these are great sources of photographs from that era and from that time. All right. New book out. We're going to do a couple more here. I'm interested in this. This was a little different. What is this? This is who was the publisher? And this is not Casemate. It's who was the publisher? Berlin. I don't know how I got it, but I did, from Casemate. This is Ian Williams's The Fire of the Dragon, China's New Cold War. This was shortlisted for the Orwell Prize. Do you guys want out? Okay. Hang on one second. We are back. Okay. Roxy decided to stay. She wanted to hear about this book. Under President Xi Jinping, China's global ambitions have taken a dangerous new turn. Bullying and intimidation have replaced diplomacy. Trade and investment, even big spending tourists and students, have been weaponized. Beijing has strengthened its alliance with Vladimir Putin, supporting Russia's aggression in Ukraine, and brooks no criticism of its own flagrant human rights violations against the Uyghur population in Western China. Leaders in the West say they don't want a Cold War with China, but it's a little late for that. Beijing is already waging a more complex, broader, and more dangerous Cold War than the old one with the Soviet Union, and it is intensifying. This thought-provoking and alarming book examines this new Cold Wars on many fronts, from Taiwan and the South China Sea to the Indian frontier, the Arctic, and cyberspace. In doing so, it proclaims the clear and sobering message that we must open our eyes to the reality of China's rise and its ruthless bid for global dominance. Oh, okay. I have never read Ian Williams before, but it kind of shows me on the back of this book that he has a previous book that also looks really great called Every Breath You Take. The subtitle is China's New Tyranny. So, yeah, I've been also reading a lot about China currently, and a ton of new books I picked up on China and on Xi Jinping, and just the they're stepping up. They have stepped up, and it's worrisome. So, The Fire of the Dragon, China's New Cold War looks really good. Ian Williams. This is from Berlin Publishing. I've never heard of that, but happy to have it. Let's see here. We'll do one more. We'll do one more.
Do it.
And Martine is off camera cheering me on. And for this one, we're going to end with the Civil War. America's Unending Civil War, which to me, this book is at the top of my list for books that I want to tackle. This is from Frontline Books, because I have felt for a while now that the similarities are just too eerie. But this is America's Unending Civil War, the enduring conflict from Jamestown through to recent elections, by William Nestor. Look at that. It's Frontline Books, and as you can see, he was at the Capitol riots there on January 6th. So let's take a look. I believe this one is out right now. The Civil War fascinates Americans like no other war in their history. Many Americans are still fighting some of the war's issues in an odyssey that stretches back to the first settlement and will persist until the end of time. The war itself was an Iliad of brilliant generals like Grant, Sherman, and Sheridan for the Union, or Lee, Jackson, and Forrest for the Confederacy. Epic battles like Gettysburg and Chickamauga, epic sieges like Vicksburg and Petersburg, and epic naval combat such as Monitor versus Merrimack, or Kearsarge versus Alabama. It was America's most horrific war, with more dead than all others combined. Around 625,000 soldiers and 125,000 civilians died from various causes, bringing the total to 750,000 people. Of 31 million Americans, 2.1 million Northerners and 880,000 Southerners donned uniforms. Why did 11 states eventually band together to rebel against the United States? President Jefferson Davis began an answer when he said, "If the Confederacy falls, there should be written on its tombstone, 'Died of a theory.' That theory justified the enslavement of blacks by whites as a natural right and duty of a superior race over an inferior race. A theory, it was believed, that morally and economically elevated both races." Although slavery was the Civil War's core cause, there were related chronic conflicts over the nature of government, citizenship, liberty, property, equality, wealth, race, identity, justice, crime, voting, power, and history, some of which issues have never entirely gone away. You think? America's Unending Civil War is unique among thousands of books on the subject. None before has explored the Civil War's related and enduring conflicts of ideas and principles through 4 centuries of the nation's history. Well, I don't know if that's entirely true. I'm sure other books have done that as well, but I'm intrigued by this, and I want to check it out. Especially as it we move from 1865 to the present in part 3. Okay, so the book is actually 213 pages before you get to the endnotes and stuff like that. But America's Unending Civil War the enduring conflict from Jamestown through to recent elections, William Nestor. So that is our Books Away video of new casemate arrivals. I have more military history to show you, a nice selection of Osprey books that I've gotten recently. But I wanted to get these on your radar for all of you military history readers and fans out there. Let me know if any of these appeal to you, what you think. Just chat with me. I enjoy it. And I hope you enjoy these military history title spotlights from Casemate, because they'll keep coming. All right, guys, until next time, thanks for joining me here on the History Shelf. I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.